Alrighty, CNT120, we're working on our Chapter 5 lab. Now, real quickly, online students and campus students, this first part of the lab, the packet tracer portion, is identical for both. So I know it says online, but campus people, you're going to do the same thing for the first part of the lab. Campus people will have a second part that we'll do in the lab room. I'll switch over and do other podcasts specifically for you for part 2. So just a heads up. Alright, so what we're going to do in this lab, we have a network here where we have the Harrisburg side, we have the Philadelphia side, and right now pretty much nothing is connected except the one connection between the two sites. So if I go to the physical tab here and go to the Harrisburg city, I'll find the office building here. I'll see there's 2 wiring closets, a couple workstations, and I'm going to see that repeated. I'm going to go back out here to the Philly side. We find the Philly building over here. Here it is. Again, 2 closets, some workstations outlet, and if I go to the main closet over here, I'll end up seeing a handful of servers, and nothing is connected. Well, that's the whole point of our Chapter 5 in getting everything cabled up. So we're literally going to kind of go through this systematically and cable all the workstations up, the switches up, and then eventually the servers into the network and get everything functioning. Remember, when I'm connecting unlike devices, I'm going to use a straight through cable. So router to switch, PC to switch, those kind of things, they're all going to be straight through cables. Anytime I'm connecting like devices, which in this case is going to be the 2 switches here, 2 switches here, I'm going to need some type of crossover connection. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. Alright, the first connection we're going to make is the horizontal cabling between the patch panel in the closet and the outlets in the rooms of our building. So I'm going to go to the physical tab, I'm going to go to the Harrisburg network over here, and I'm going to focus in on cabling up this office, if you will, horizontal cabling back to this closet, and then I will do the horizontal cabling from this office over to this closet. Okay, pretending that this is a large building that needs 2 data closets. So to do that, I'm going to use my connection down here, and I need a straight through connection, and I'm going to go from this outlet box. I'll zoom in a little bit here. I'll go from this outlet box. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to do the punch down because I would be punching into the outlet jack that's there. This side is the side I'd plug a patch cable into. Okay, so that side is a patch cable that would go to the computer. We need the punch down that'll go from the outlet, and I'm going to click on the closet here, and I'm going to click on the rack, and I'm going to click the patch panel, and I'm going to do punch down 1. That would be the back of the patch panel. So I'm going port 1 to 1. I'm going to repeat this for the other 3. That way I'm kind of cabling the whole office up. Rack, patch panel, punch down 2. Over here, click on the outlet, punch down 3, drag it over here, click on the closet, punch down 3, and then same thing here with 4. Click on the closet, patch panel, punch down 4. Alright, that is the horizontal cabling for this closet, for this office, if you will. We'll repeat that for the secondary closet that we have. We'll repeat this for the secondary wiring closet that we have in our building over here. So I'll slide down a little bit over to here. This is our secondary closet, and we're going to repeat this same process. Click on the box, punch down 1, go to this closet, click on the closet, rack, patch panel, this is 2, and again I will go to punch down 1. And I'll repeat that for the other 3 jacks here. Punch down 2, and I'm keeping organized. Patch panel, punch down 2. Outlet 3, punch down 3 into the closet. Into patch panel, punch down 3. And then lastly, number 4 into the closet. Patch panel, punch down 4. So now the horizontal cabling in this building has been completed. The next thing we need to do, and that's what all these are here, we now need to do the cables in the closet, in our data closets. So we need to connect the patch panel into the switch. So I will start with our main closet here. I'll click on the closet. I'll zoom in on the equipment rack over here. That's where we're going to do our work. So I'll hit that maybe like 2 times. Here's the power strip. There's the router for this site. Here's the switch for this site, and then here's the patch panel that we just wired into. This is the horizontal cabling coming into those first 4 outlets. It'd be on the back, and that's kind of what they're showing you there. So we're now going to grab a patch cable, and we're going to go from outlet 1 here into switch port 1, which will be on the top. So I'll grab a straight through cable. We need the jack 1 into port 1. It's on the top. I'm going to do the patch cable, port 2, jack 2 over here to port 2. It's going to be below the first one. Okay, and then I'll do jack 3 here over to port 3. That'll be on the top here. If I hold my pointer and let it go, you'll see Gigabit Ethernet 103. That's port 3. And then I will do jack 4 here into port 4, which is on the bottom of there. So now the closet patch cables are plugged in on this side. I've done this connection. Now I'm not going to see things come on yet because we have not actually gotten the switch powered up and everything we need to do on that. We will do that soon. We're just getting the layer 1 connections at this point. I'm going to repeat this process in the secondary closet. So I'm going to back out here. I'm going to go over here to this closet. I'm going to repeat the same process. Now this one just has the patch panel and switch and nothing else on this one. That's just the secondary closet in the building. Jack 1, port 1. Let me zoom in a little bit more there. There we go. We'll do jack 2 on the bottom is port 2. Jack 3 here, top 3. Jack 4 over here on the bottom. Okay. So again, we now have this closet taken care of. So we now have the horizontal cabling done from the outlet back to the patch panel, and we just did the patch cable from the patch panel into the switch port. The only thing left is the cable in the work area. So scrolling down here now, we now need the patch cable out in the work area. So I will come over here to the first closet, or the first closet here with this first office, and I will just cable in. I don't think I had these in any particular order. I think I did, yeah, PC and the jack 1 and laptop and the jack 2. I'll keep it consistent with the directions here. So I will click on the PC, to the Fast Ethernet NIC, if you will, and I will connect that into jack 1. And then I will do the same thing on the laptop here into jack 2. And I'll go over the other closet and I will do the same thing. PC into port 1 and the laptop into port 2. Okay. So at this point I should now have, I have the horizontal cabling between, the office area and the closet. I have the patch cable from the patch panel into the switch port, and now I have a patch cable from the outlet out to the PC. So my whole copper cabling for this site should be in order. Okay. Now let me do this real quick. If I go to the logic, I'll see that my workstations are all cabled into the switch. Workstations cable into the switch fully. Okay. We now need to bring these switches online. We need to bring the switches online. So I'm going to go to let's go to the logical tab. Actually, the physical tab we are under here. Select on the main page, you'll be viewing the floor plan building under the physical tab. Select the logical tab to see the result of our physical connections. That's what we just did. And we'll take note of, let's go here. We'll take note that we have those connected. And I now want to open up the switch. So I'm going to click on the switch and then I'll click the physical tab. So I'll click on the first switch over here. And I'm going to click on the physical tab right there. And I'm going to make this larger. I'll zoom in here on the top. There's my zoom in. There we go. And we need to bring this switch online because right now it's not powered on. So we're going to drag some power supplies into the switch. So right down here's a power supply. Here's 1. Here's 2. This should now boot up the switch and get the switch actually functioning. Okay. Now, the next thing we need to do, and actually we'll do this on the second switch 2 here so we don't forget. There's switch 1. I'm going to close that. I'll go to switch 2. Physical tab again. I'll make this larger. And I'm going to drag the 2 power supplies up here. So this switch will now actually power on. So now both switches should be powering on. And eventually I should see some link lights on my switch ports. Okay, If I were to go into my closet, I think if I go here, I might actually start seeing link lights on here on these ports. Let me zoom in a little bit. I do actually see a link light down there. It's blinking in the background, but it's there. All right. Now that I have the switches powered on, we now need a connection between the two switches, and we're going to do that with a fiber link. Between closets, we're typically going to use fiber optics, so we're going to, on our switches, install a SFP module that will give us a fiber link that we can use between our closets. So let's click the Harrisburg switch 1 that's over here, and on the physical tab again, there's our physical tab. I'm going to zoom in, and let me slide over here. There we go. These are some open SFP slots over here. We are going to get a fiber module that's listed on the left over there and plug it into the Harrisburg switch. So over here we have, here's our fiber module, there's the SFP module, and I'm going to drag that and plug it into, I'm just going to use port 1 there, keep it simple. And I'm going to repeat that on the second switch. So I will close this out, open up the second switch, let's make them larger as well. We're going to grab our SFP module that's here, drop it into port 1. So now we actually have a fiber port that we can plug a fiber cable in between the two switches. So now we're going to grab a fiber cable and connect from switch 1 to switch 2 on these two switches. So I'll come down here, and my fiber module is the orange one. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click on this first switch, and there is only one fiber port I can use. Right there it is. I'll click on that. I'm going to drag it over to the second switch, click on it, and I'm going to go down to that fiber port again down here at the bottom. Now the two switches should be connected with a fiber optic link. And if I go to my physical tab, let me go here to the physical tab. In my office, I'll actually see that fiber link between the two closets. It's negotiating. It'll come on here in a little bit. But I now have my two closets connected together with fiber like I would in a real environment, a real network environment, if you will. All right, so we'll go back to the logical tab. And the last thing we need to do is we need to connect this switch to the router that's here with just a copper link. So let's go back to the Harrisburg switch, and we're now going to, here's my Harrisburg switch there. I need to add a copper module here that I can plug my patch cable in to go to the router that's in the same closet. So I'm going to grab the module here, -T for twisted pair, and I'll drag that. I'll just put it into port 2 right there. Now I have a copper port that I can use to connect to the router in the closet. And what I'll do, let's do, let me try going this way. We're going to go to the physical tab to this main closet, and here is that copper link. We're going to try to connect from there up to my router using, we need to make sure we're connecting to gigabit 00 port on the router. So we're going to grab a straight through cable, and let's find our gigabit 00. There's the gigabit 00 port right there. Oops, hold on, let me make sure I get the right one for us here. Console, auxiliary, gigabit 01, gigabit 02. There it is, gigabit 00. I want to make sure I had the right one, gigabit 00 port, and then we'll drag it down and plug it into this copper port right here. This is in the same closet. So I can use a patch cable to do that. And again, I'm just verifying here, Harrisburg switch 1, I'm going to go to the SFP module, plug it in there, and then plug it in the gigabit 00 port on the router. So I'll go back out to the logical tab, and I should see that connection coming online. So right now, my Harrisburg side should be cabled up, and we should be ready to start moving data through. Now, we're going to repeat all this on the Philly side. I'll come back in the next podcast, and we'll do all this again on the Philly side.